I remember the days when our family was torn apart. I began, my eyes misty as I spoke. But that was before the transformation, the forgiveness, and the love that made us whole again. My name is Sarah, and I'm in my early 30s. I'd like to share a story that has had a significant impact on my life. It all began when I was living with my parents, taking care of them after my father's sudden passing and my mother's need for a wheelchair due to an accident. I worked as a freelance programmer to support the family and pay off my father's debts. My relationship with my sibling, Mark, was complicated, and he often criticized my choices. Life was challenging but bearable until one day when Mark, along with his wife, Lisa, proposed moving into our family home, essentially pushing me out. They planned to use the house to settle our father's debt. At the time, I was infuriated and refused to help them. I moved into a small apartment and cut ties with Mark. Over time, I built a fulfilling life for myself. I met someone special and found happiness in my newfound independence. Now, let me share my story from the beginning. It all started when I was living with my parents, helping them out as much as I could. My father, Michael, had passed away from a sudden heart attack, leaving my mother, Linda, in a wheelchair due to a terrible accident. I was the eldest child, and while my brother, Stephen, should have taken on the role of the chief caretaker, he dodged the responsibility, leaving me to manage everything. "Rachel," he said, "you handle the tedious tasks, and I'll do my own thing." It was frustrating, but I couldn't argue in the midst of our father's funeral. I was too busy managing the responsibilities and taking care of our mother. Even our sister, Lisa, and her husband, Mark, didn't offer much help. They left early, leaving my mother and me to grieve in solitude. With my father gone, our home felt quieter than ever, and I felt lost. My mother was engulfed in sorrow, and it was heartbreaking to see her like that. I continued to work as a freelance programmer to support our family and repay the debts that my father had left behind. Every month, I struggled to make ends meet, balancing my programming work, household chores, and taking care of my mother. It was tough, but I never let my mother see how exhausted I was. I wanted her to be at ease, despite the mounting pressure. Then there was Michael, my brother, who would visit occasionally and criticize my work. He never understood my choice to be a freelancer and mocked me for it. He had always been the perfect son, and I was constantly compared to him. "You're still obsessed with that keyboard job," he would say, belittling the work I was genuinely committed to. "Freelancing just sounds like you're showing off." But I was determined to make it work. I loved the flexibility that freelancing offered, which allowed me to spend time with my mother and support her. I had chosen this path not only for myself, but for her as well. I never saw her as a burden, and I wanted to provide for her as best as I could. One day, Michael had a serious talk with our mother. He was dissatisfied with my choice of work and blamed her for allowing me to stay at home. He even suggested that I move to a senior home to give myself more freedom. That's when I decided to speak up and defend my mother. I walked into the room and told them that I chose freelancing because it was the right path for me. My mother, Linda, supported my decision, which surprised me. But Michael couldn't let it go. He was insistent that I should leave the house and find a bigger world. He offered to escort me out of the room and began discussing moving our mother into a senior home. It wasn't long before they decided that our mother should move, and the house was becoming too quiet and lonely without her. It seemed like Michael had complete control over the situation, and I felt angry about it. It was as if he had decided everything on his own. I quickly found a new apartment and moved out. I was relieved to have my own space and independence. The new environment allowed me to breathe and gave me a fresh start. I was eager to embrace this new phase of my life, and I even began dating someone special I met through my tennis club. I shared the news with my mother, and she was genuinely happy for me. Her words of support filled my heart, and I felt a renewed sense of hope for the future. A month later, I received an unexpected call from Michael. He was desperate and wanted my help with our father's debts. It turned out that he had made some poor investments and lost a significant amount of money. Their plan to take over the family home and settle the debts had backfired, leaving them with nothing but financial troubles. I reminded Michael that we had severed our sibling ties, and he needed to manage his finances on his own. It was a tough decision, but I had to stick to my principles. I couldn't let him back into my life after everything that had happened. The calls from Michael continued, and I could tell that something significant had gone wrong, but it wasn't my problem anymore. I focused on my own life, my work, and the person I cared about. A while later, while taking a walk near my old home, I learned that it was up for sale. A neighbor told me about the constant confrontations between Michael, Karen, and debt collectors. They seemed to have disappeared suddenly, possibly overwhelmed by their financial troubles. I wished them happiness wherever they were. My life was fulfilling, and I was excited about the future. I was walking alongside someone I had chosen to share my life with, and my future looked bright. Life with my new partner was an exciting journey. We shared adventures, built dreams together, and created countless cherished memories. Each day brought new opportunities and a sense of contentment that I had never experienced before. We explored the city hand in hand, discovering hidden gems, enjoying delicious food, and relishing the simple pleasure of each other's company. Our love continued to grow, deepening the bond between us. As time went on, my career as a freelance programmer thrived. I took on challenging projects, expanded my client base, and continued to contribute to our household finances. My work was not just a source of income, but also a passion, a way for me to express my creativity and technical skills. I also stayed connected with my friends from the tennis club. Our gatherings were filled with laughter, friendly competition on the court, and heartfelt conversations over meals. The support and camaraderie of my friends added another layer of happiness to my life. My mother, Linda, was living in a senior home, and I made it a point to visit her regularly. We spent quality time together, reminiscing about the past and creating new memories. She was content, surrounded by friends who shared her experiences, and I was relieved to see her happy. Life was in full bloom, and I was truly content with the path I had chosen. The past was a chapter in my life, and it had shaped me into the person I had become. The challenges and hardships had only made me stronger and more resilient. I had learned to stand my ground, to value my choices, and to embrace the future with open arms. One sunny day, as my partner and I were enjoying a leisurely walk in the park, I received an unexpected call. It was from my estranged brother, who had faced his share of financial difficulties and needed assistance. His voice was filled with desperation, and he pleaded for my help. I hesitated for a moment, torn between the past and the present. But deep down, I knew that family was family, and I couldn't turn my back on him in his time of need. Despite our differences and the pain of the past, I couldn't ignore the bond we shared as siblings. I agreed to meet with Mark and Lisa to discuss their situation. We sat down in a quiet cafe, the three of us facing the complexities of our past and the uncertainty of the future. Mark was genuinely remorseful, and Lisa, though initially hesitant, was willing to support her husband. We talked about their financial struggles, the mistakes they had made, and their desire to make amends. It was a difficult conversation, but I could see the sincerity in their eyes. They had learned from their errors and were determined to rebuild their lives. In the end, we reached a compromise. I offered them a loan not as an act of charity, but as a chance for them to make a fresh start. The terms were fair, and we agreed on a plan for repayment. It wasn't an easy decision, but I believed in their potential for change. Over time, Mark and Lisa worked hard to get back on their feet. They found stable jobs, cut down on unnecessary expenses, and focused on rebuilding their financial stability. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but they were committed to their journey of self-improvement. Our relationship gradually improved too. We no longer carried the bitterness of the past, and while the scars were still there, we were willing to move forward. We shared stories, laughed at old memories, and found common ground as adults. Life continued to unfold, and our family slowly mended its bonds. It was a reminder that sometimes, even in the face of adversity, love and forgiveness can pave the way for reconciliation. As the years went by, our family dynamic evolved into something we hadn't experienced before. Mark and Lisa, having worked hard to rebuild their lives, became more self-sufficient and responsible. Our interactions were no longer fraught with tension and disagreements. Instead, we found ourselves enjoying family gatherings, sharing meals, and celebrating holidays together. My mother, Linda, was delighted to see her children coming together. She had always been the pillar of our family, and the happiness she radiated was a testament to the healing that had taken place. My relationship with Mark and Lisa transformed from strained interactions to genuine camaraderie. We discovered common interests, supported each other's endeavors, and provided emotional support during challenging times. It was as if we had been granted a second chance to build the family bonds we had missed for so long. Life continued to offer its array of experiences. I achieved professional success as a freelance programmer, which allowed me to further secure my financial stability. The comfort of our family home was now shared, and it became a place where all of us gathered to create new memories. My partner and I decided to take our relationship to the next level and got married. Our wedding was a beautiful celebration filled with love, laughter, and the warmth of our extended family. Mark and Lisa played significant roles in the event, expressing their support and genuine happiness for our union. The years rolled on, and my mother continued to live in a senior home, content and surrounded by friends. Her health had its ups and downs, but the bond between us remained unbreakable. I visited her regularly, and those moments together remained precious to both of us. Life had come full circle, and I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had led me to this point. The challenges and hardships had forged me into a resilient individual, capable of making tough decisions and embracing the power of forgiveness. Our family had learned to heal, adapt, and redefine our relationships. As I looked around the room during one of our family gatherings, I realized that the love and unity we had found were the most valuable treasures in life. The past was a mere chapter in our story, and we had written a new one filled with growth, redemption, and the enduring power of family bonds. I was no longer defined by the trials of the past, but by the strength and resilience that had allowed me to build a fulfilling life, surrounded by the love and support of my family, old and new. Years passed, and our family continued to thrive. My mother, Linda, was the center of our gatherings, always beaming with joy as she watched her children and their families come together. Mark and Lisa had children of their own, and they brought even more life and laughter to our family gatherings. With my successful career as a freelance programmer, I was able to provide for my family comfortably. My partner and I welcomed our own children into the world, and the bond between us grew stronger. Life was a tapestry of shared experiences, from birthday parties to vacations, and from the ups and downs of daily life to the joy of watching our children grow. The family home, once a source of tension and conflict, had become a place of love, acceptance, and belonging. It was a symbol of our family's resilience and the power of forgiveness. We celebrated holidays, shared meals, and created new traditions together, cherishing every moment we spent under its roof. My mother's health had its challenges, and her mobility had further declined over the years. But her spirit remained strong, and she continued to inspire us with her resilience and unwavering love. I continued to visit her at the senior home, where she enjoyed the company of lifelong friends and relished the stories and laughter they shared. As the seasons changed, we faced our own trials and tribulations. Life was not without its difficulties, but the support of our extended family made every challenge seem surmountable. We leaned on one another, providing strength and comfort in times of need. Mark and Lisa had not only repaid the loan I had provided, but had also built a stable and secure life for themselves and their children. Their journey of transformation was a testament to the power of second chances and the importance of family support. My relationship with Mark and Lisa had blossomed into a deep and lasting bond. We had each other's backs, celebrated each other's successes, and offered a shoulder to lean on in times of adversity. It was a far cry from the strained relationship we once had, and it filled my heart with gratitude. As my own children grew, I shared with them the value of family, forgiveness, and the strength that comes from unity. I wanted them to understand that life could present challenges, but with love and resilience, they could overcome anything. I wanted them to carry forward the legacy of healing and growth that our family had achieved. In the grand tapestry of life, our family's story was a beautiful thread, woven with the threads of love, transformation, and the enduring power of forgiveness.